Everyone, today I will explain to all of you guys about the characteristic of young learners and how they learn. Okay, so it's on TEYL course, okay, and it's presented by me, Kevin Leipa. Okay, so next I will mention and explain to all of you about the characteristic of young learners. So, there are eight characteristics that I will explain to all of you. The first is short attention. As we know, in a young age, specifically kids, they usually have short attention, especially in learning stuff. So, young learners typically have limited attention spans and also requiring activities to be short and engaging. So when you meet maybe someone, like maybe if you have a brother, something like that, when you try to make them focus when they learn, it will be hard if you do that stuff in a long time. So that's why the kids usually have a short attention span. And for the next characteristic is spontaneous. Why? Because they often act impulsively, reacting to the stimuli in the moment rather than planning their action. So, as you know, because they are in a young age, so they rather to do something like stuff without thinking it first. So, yeah, they always do this stuff, especially in learning. Uh, we call it like suddenly or out of sudden without thinking much and just do the stuff that they want. And for the third is egocentric. So it's young learner tend to focus on themselves and their immediate needs or desires, which can affect their interaction with others. So in this characteristic, so it can be mentioned as selfish, I guess. So they will focus on their own stuff or problem and also focusing on them without thinking about others. So that's why it's called egocentric. And for the next part is energetic and active. As we know, young learners are energetic and active, especially when they are in outside of the room of school, I guess. They like to run, they like to touch something around them, and yeah, they have a lot of enjoyment. That's why uh, I put energetic and active characteristic in this explanation. And for the next fifth, there is imitating. So as we know, young learner learn by observe something around them, especially someone around them. So without know about something, they can do that stuff. Without know about that stuff, they can just do about that stuff. Why? They can do that stuff because of someone or something. Like maybe if there's someone like older than them talking in a bad way or smoking around them, they can be curious about that stuff and just do it without knowing the consequence or the reason why the older men do that stuff. And for the six, there is curious. Yeah, they have a natural inclination and liking to explore something that new around them. For example, if they saw the pencil case or ball pen case, they try to open the case and trying to use that stuff without knowing what is that, what kind of item is that. So that's why I put curious in this PowerPoint. And for the next seven, imaginative. So as we know, young learners like to enjoy to using their imagination. As you know, in the kids era back then, we have a lot of entertainment in house like cartoon, anime on the television, and almost all of them is watch that kind of entertainment by their parents. So in that case, because of watching the entertainment like that, the students, I mean young learners, can use his imagination based on that stuff. Like, but in this case, in this characteristic, it's good because, you know, when we want to do something like, you know, drawing some item, maybe we need our imagination to improve our paper, our ground. And for the last, there is play with object. Yeah, as we know, it has relation or connection with the couple characteristic before, like active. So they they use their own hands, yeah, to reach something, to play something, to explore that item, I guess. And in this case, it's good because they can be grown up and knowing about all of the object stuff that we need, especially in school. So yeah, it's important to teach the young learner in a good way about that stuff. Okay, so I guess it's all of the characteristic of young learners that I explained. And for the next, I will explain to all of you guys about how teacher teach. Okay, so in specifically about the subtitle, it refers to the characteristic before. So the way how teacher teach based on the characteristic of the young learners. So before of that, I will tell. to all of you guys about the quotes from William Butler. So the quotes, it says that education is not the feeling of a fire, but the lighting of a fire. It means that you know education is important for us, and if we train this kind of stuff, of course it will be better, 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 and grow up, and will be benefited from the students and for us. Okay, so for the next, we are back to the slide, before, and about attention. As a teacher, it's important, to understand about all of the characteristics in here, especially for young learners, because when teacher teach in a young learner stuff, teacher is not just being a facilitator. Teacher also must guide the students in a right way. So for the first, how teacher teach for the students who has short attention. Okay, so first, okay, so we can divide to be several activity if we have a lot of activity to teach for the student, and we can divide it maybe uh, 2 minutes maybe in a one session. For example, about knowing how to read in English. So before we teach to the young learners, we can divide it to several sessions. So the students can, can improve their focus, can receive their focus back, and we can reach the students' goals. And for the next spontaneous, for the students that has spontaneous characteristic, as a teacher, that we can tell him or maybe tell them, about the right way before we do some stuff, I guess. So the young learners can think, can deliberate it carefully, and we tell them in the right way, of course. Okay, and for the next, there is egocentric. So yeah, as we know, yeah, egocentric. Uh, I guess yeah, it can be mentioned as selfish. So as a teacher in this characteristic, we can, take a bait. I guess take a bait to the students, like if we can make a group of the young learners, and we can see, if they can be if they can have a good cooperation each other, and rather using their feeling, so they can have a good cooperation together. And for the next, energetic and active. So as a teacher, especially in young learner student, there will be a lot of activities, that we need to use, our body like physically, like playing football or something like that. If we take an example in learning English, we can, utilize their characteristic, to make them being active in a good way. For example, we can give them like some tasks like, guess a picture of animal, or, fill the blank from the paper. And like, we can ask them to, to put the paper in the picture that we put in the hall of the class, in the room, I mean. So we can use that kind of activity for the students that has energetic and active characteristic. And for imitating, as we know, as a teacher, we just, we can just teach about the theory of the material, but of course we need to teach about behavior as well. So the things that teacher needs, to be reminded, we can being an example for them, like when we eat, maybe like in the classroom, we can just sit down while eat and praying before eating this food, that food. And if we take a case or example in that, teaching them in the right way for imitating characteristic, we can, like if we're teaching some vocabulary in English or something like that, we can mention it loudly to the students, and we can ask the student to imitate what we said earlier or what we mentioned earlier. So it will be very helpful and useful for the students that has, you know, that always imitate others. And for the next is curious. To teach the students who has curious behavior or stuff in the classroom, a teacher, must, you know, to must make them curious about the material that we will explain. For example, if we want to, to teach them about animal or something like that, we can make the students curious. For example, we just tell them about the clue of the size or color or something like that. And after that, the student must, guess about what kind of animal that we mentioned loudly. And after that, maybe we can, we can tell them about it after a lot of students try to guess the kind of animal. I think it's a good way to teach for their characteristic, or improve their characteristic to be better. Okay, for the next, there is imaginative. Okay, so as a teacher, we know that, there are a lot of tasks that we give to the students. It's not just written, and also there's like practice, like role play, or playing or singing or ask them to write some kind of paper, essay. So that kind of task can improve their imagination, I guess. Like when we ask them to make an essay, we just, can help them, but for the title or for the clue like paper or picture. For example, if I'm being a teacher and when I ask them to make some essay, I can take a clue like a picture. Maybe we can say it's a picture of ball, maybe or Paris, Jakarta, Monas, or Bandung, something like that. So we just need, to put that picture maybe in the on the whiteboard and ask the students to write an essay about that picture. So it will, improve their imagination, create some, activities that will help them to improve their imagination. So for next, there is, I think it's last, play with object. So as a teacher, you get know the young learner like, to bring or use some kind of items in the classroom. We can utilize it like, to have fun learning in the classroom. For example, as a teacher, maybe we can ask them to bring some, items to the school and make them one by one to uh, go forward to the in the classroom and explain about the object that they they hold. I think it's a good way to teach the student that like to, play with objects. It will create, some new vocabularies and also the imagination. They can, create the sentence comprehensively, something like that. So I think that's it for me about the characteristic of the learner and how they learn. First of all, sorry if there's a lot of any mistake in on this video, and thank you and hey.